is just that one-of-a-kind guy who can make it work, as we are getting onto the Rift here, and we'll see how these interesting picks come through. It has been a much more interesting draft for this Game 3, that's for sure. I'm excited to see who's going to take that early advantage.
Yeah, and I think very much eyes are going to be on this bottom lane because this Ashe Caitlyn combo is going to be very oppressive. Important to note, you had your eyes on possibly the Ashe going into AD carry. Is going to go support here though. Does still have that Halo Blade, so you're still going to have that
Mhm.
strong early trading power, but that does mean that the heavier investment from a gold perspective is going to be in that Caitlyn. So important thing to note on that front, and a traditional sport for the side of Furia. But Furia, this is a must-win game. Crazy to
Mhm.
say it in just their third game of the split. There's still plenty of league to play here in split one in CBLOL. But this team starting O2 the way that they have, they really need to start putting some wins under their belt and stabilize because there's not many excuses, right? You have a very talented roster, a lot of very well-known names that have played a lot of games here in CBLOL. This is not how you can be starting a split. So they need to right the ship here quickly. And we're already seeing some of the oppressive nature down here in the bottom lane. A lot of damage there on the Cavallo. Trigo and Redbird do have to back away, but the Caitlyn pretty darn healthy.
Yeah, playing with fire there, Cavallo is. He's got to be aware of that Jhin force shot. The Pike can come in with a flash and the Jhin as well to get a lot of burst to finish that one off. But if they can keep himself topped up with these, with the biscuits, with the potions, they can take control of this lane, I imagine. We saw that the junglers both were RN Vision on their starting buffs. So AC is going to be pathing down to the bot lane. You'd have to expect starting on top side. So not focusing on that top lane matchup, as we mentioned. Not necessarily going for the usual top dive scenario. Instead, maybe looking to go for a bot dive. They have plenty of range, plenty of long range engage and CC with a Caitlyn and Ashe, and if you have an Elise to finish the job under the turret, that could work pretty well.
Yeah, of course, Trigo is going to be very susceptible. That Jhin, very immobile. The problem you will have to deal with is Redbert
That's
on that Pike. Pikes are so slippery and
okay.
they can be very difficult to deal with here. Is Goot in trouble? Force the flash over into his Krugs camp. There is Redbert over through Tribush for the support, and AC going to get pulled back there by the Pike, but no real trouble here. But solid early invade there by AC is going to force Goot out of that red side jungle, but it's already been cleared out. So at least able to get the camps out, but the early damage in favor of the Elise.
Yeah, so this is what I really love about this Liberty roster, okay?
Mm-hmm.
AC walks up to basically a full health Maokai at level 3 and just flashes on him straight away, has no help, has no teammates to make sure that kill happens. I don't know if his thought is literally, I'm gonna force him to flash, or just, I win this 1v1. I'm going to take it. I'm going to force it. I'm going to flash in. And that is how Liberty have been playing every game so far. They've had their ups and their downs. These are still a lot of fresh-faced players across this roster. But I love that they bet on themselves every single time.
Yeah, and I think the big thing there too for Liberty was that they had all the right conditions on the map for AC to play aggressively. You've got priority in both bot and mid lane, and not only is it priority, but as we've already hit on, this is a very oppressive 2v2 in favor of Liberty. So while Redbert may roam up, you know that Juliera and Cavallo can easily follow up and be a very big threat. And Trigo doesn't want to walk up there this early, right? This Jhin is not nearly as strong right now. So the Furia bottom lane just wants to absorb these waves under tower and take their time. So AC knows I've got an opening here. I can play a little aggressive. Isn't going to get much out of it, but at least building that early confidence is going to bode well here for Liberty.
Yep, 100%. You can see AC going back onto that bot side jungle, really trying to make his presence, maybe not make it known, but make his presence felt on that bot side of the jungle with Cavallo in to help him. So I like that Liberty is still playing aggressive. They do still have decent control of the mid wave right now, but I think for Furia, this is kind of what I wanted to see out of them in terms of their draft, in terms of what their comp is trying to do. They have these champions that can take strong winning matchups and dominate the lane in mid and top lane, and they have something a little bit more range, a little bit more CC utility heavy in the Jhin with a roaming champ for Redbird if he wants to just leave Chigo down there. I think this is the best way to get value out of these Furia players. We haven't seen that value yet, but this does feel like they are setting themselves up to use what they have to the best of their ability, and they have a lot of experience, a lot of skill. They should be able to leverage that to at least make this hard for Liberty.
Now, Goot may be coming down to the bottom lane, and Liberty doesn't have the information here. They're looking to
Ooh.
clear out a ward, and Goot's going to get out here, flash in there from Redbird, and Cavallo has to run away. Is going to be able not actually avoid the stun there, is going to get caught up, and that's going to be first blood there for Redbird. Well played from the Furia support, is that's going to be the
Ooh.
Shuriba shuffle coming out from Piotto, and Envy's going to get away.
Great commitment there by Fury onto that bot side, knowing that once the flash is down, there's actually nothing that Cavallo can do about that anymore. You still have the Maokai, the Twisted Advance, and Redbird, of course, able to cover so much ground on the pike. And I like the answer from Piloto and AC as well, reacting straight away onto mid lane, at least getting a counter summoner out of Envy who was ready for it. So both of these teams throwing out the punches, not kind of letting anything go for free, but Furia definitely going to be happy with that. Bit of gold into Redbird, bit of extra kill threat, bit of extra lethality he's going to come back with on that buy, and that is very dangerous for a double squishy AD combo in the bot lane that Liberty has.
Furia definitely getting some early value here and slowing down this Caitlyn Ash lane. Very, very good for them. They do not want Juliera and Cavallo to get those early item spikes because it's only going to get more difficult for that Jhin to farm and stay safe in this lane. So an early kill, setting them behind just a little bit bodes well here for Trigo. Now Redbird looking to get into the mid lane, and Piloto is going to get knocked back there by Envy, able to dash under tower, does get pulled by Redbird, but no further threat there from Furia as the Liberty mid laner will back away from pressure. Meanwhile, Goot on the bottom side, a lot of pings around this Cloud Drake. Seems like Furia may want to go for it early. AC on their way down to this bot side, but Liberty might be hard pressed to contest for this objective.
Yeah, Redbird did in fact end up going to the Mobies first instead, not the lethality. I thought he might go for the Dirk to then try and punish a flashless Ashe to turn into this dragon, but instead he went for the mobility, took some damage onto Piloto instead, and they are going to still turn it into a dragon fight as top lane. Getting pretty scrappy.
Yeah, Chiari feeling pretty confident there, but we're going to throw down here just outside of the Drake. Juliera backing away. Goot is isolated right now. Trigo will get some good damage there with the ultimate, but Goot's going to fall. And Liberty with a good job isolating the Furia jungler there, and they pick up their first kill of the game.
Stop the dragon as well. We could see that Envy, while keeping Piloto out of the fight, couldn't offer any more damage to the other frontier, where, yeah, 3 people were just beating on Goot until he falls over. Trigo and Rebirth not feeling confident to get in there. Redbird far away from level 6 when he can start being that team fight threat. So, yeah, Liberty punishing a bit of overconfidence by Furia there. They get one win and think, oh, well, it's all good down here. It's not that easy.
Yeah, and while the Drake doesn't get picked up here, Liberty is feeling just fine, essentially dead even in gold. They're going to try and likely reestablish priority here in this bottom lane, and that may then snowball into the Drake. AC going to get down here. Ultimate comes out from Juliera. Will just force the block there from Redbird, and AC wants to crash this wave. I think they want to go for this Drake because looks like Piloto should be able to crash the wave mid. They're going to at least be able to clear it out, but this is just going to be a fully reset wave. But Liberty might say this is enough for us to go for it. They've got Prio top side, no teleports available, but Piloto able to get that wave moving. Bot lane's going to reset, but Liberty's going to take the Drake.
Yeah, and you can see just in the inventories, they've gotten extra damage across the board right here. Redbird with the boots doesn't actually have any extra AD. They've got the wave prio, as you mentioned, as well. So pretty confident they're taking that dragon. Furia would be a bit hard pressed to try and contest it. Of course, they might do the classic CBLOL Herald on the other side, and that top lane matchup has been very, very quiet. It has just been FNB kind of having control of the wave, but not really able to punish Chiari too much. That is just the strength of Cassante in that laning phase.
Yeah, and Chiari maybe wanting to scrap here a little bit more with FNB. FNB going to keep Chiari away from this river, and that is going to be the Herald secured. So good response here from Furia. The counterpunch comes through, and these teams continue to just kind of go back and forth. You get the early kill from Redbird. They're able to trade back one with AC getting one, and now the objectives traded as Cloud Drake goes to Liberty. Furia picks up the Herald, and we're still essentially dead even here, folks. No huge discrepancies in terms of CS, a wave here or there. But this game has been almost dead, even as that's going to be Piloto going in for the Shurima Shuffle. The flash forced out as Redbert there with the hook. Meanwhile, Trigo with the ultimate over top will get some good damage, but that shock blast from Envy blocked by AC, and that means Piloto will survive. Love the aggression there from Liberty.
Yeah, 100%. Still trying to play to increase that lead. This Elise really wants to get work done in the early stage. Does not scale hugely well. Of course, Cocoon is still strong, and they do have a lot of utility in the fights in terms of survivability. They can waste a lot of time, but damage-wise, they're not going to be scaling up. Goot, however, is going to become massive, almost unkillable, and can engage from a screen away. This Maokai, there is a reason why it is still very heavily prioritized. It is so much easier to get huge amounts of value out of this pick, rather than the Elise, which I think is quite situational, has specific parts of the game where it is very strong, and he has managed to find a kill off it, but generally, I think you want to hope for a little bit more from your Elise, and we'll see what he can get done before the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, the good thing here for AC is that you do have tools in the rest of your composition to still play a more pick heavy style, right? Piloto with the Shurima Shuffle can set those up on a fairly consistent basis. You've got the Ash Arrow as well to combo, so you can still move around the map, try and get those 2v1, 3v2 mismatches, use those ultimates to set up picks. But yes, in the straight 5v5, Goot is going to be incredible. Here comes the arrow down mid lane to possibly catch out Envy. It is going to land. Piloto just going to get some damage out, though, as Envy very safe under that mid-tier 1 tower.
Anyone who saw Liberty's first game of this split will remember Cavallo's Ash from that game. It was absolutely laser focused. The Ash hours in that game were sensational as Redbird threatening in mid.
Piloto is going to get caught, and the Shurima Shuffle not going to save his life. Redbird is going to get the kill there, and while Cavallo will be able to trade back a little bit of damage, it is too little, too late as AC shows up. And that is a second kill here for Furia. Very well played there. Redbird able to sneak in from that brush on the bottom side of the river. And despite Piloto timing that dash away, the distance not enough to get him to safety. Meanwhile, now Chiari in trouble as Redbird now immediately up to the top side. And Chiari is going to get out of trouble momentarily, but the hook going to get him right back in here. FNB dashing in, but the Cassante doing so much damage. FNB is going to go down in the 1v2. Chiari takes the W.
Oh, what a Cassante moment right there from Chiari. The 2v1 looked so easy for him to just play around it with the shields and the footwork, just out-damaging FNB and Redbird, which is crazy, given that the Pike is 2-0 right now. So Chiari dealing with that pressure exceptionally well, and they really needed that. I think if Furia gets another kill there and they get an advantage onto FNB, this starts to get very sketchy. They start to fall behind, and they start to have to be too worried about Redbird to make the plays they want to make. So getting that win wastes so much of Furia's time, and you can see the gold that Juliera and Cavallo have acquired on the bot side. Redbird, 2 levels down. Does he want to go for it?
Thinking about it, I will say, I think the big game changer in that fight was the completed Jock Show from Chiari, right? You're getting that scaling armor and magic resist. So as that fight goes on, the Cassante becomes harder and harder to kill. And it turned around very quickly there for Chiari. Now able to head back to base, pick up the Merc Treads as well. So FNB is really going to struggle to deal with this Cassante in the 1v1. And the fact that Redbird came up there and it didn't really change anything at all does not bode well for the top side here for Furia.
Certainly does not. It's a very interesting interaction for me between these two comps where Furia has such a long range engage, either in kind of poke with the Jace poke into Jin W. They've got Pike, can cover so much ground. Maokai ult covers so much ground. And it's against Liberty, who have this massive amounts of zone control on long range. Hold the phone.
My God.
There's the range. There's the distance covered right there. He just pops over the wall and absolutely murders him in the blink of an eye. That is the threat that there is. And Liberty, they do have a lot of, as I said, zone control tools with Caitlyn traps, with Ash Volley, with the Azir ultimate. But there's such a strange interaction there with Furia coming at you so fast, so far, trying to get through all of the pitfalls and the barriers that Liberty can put up in front of them.
Vision control is going to be so
Oh,
important here for Liberty as Trico just barely escapes from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. He is going to get out of trouble. Meanwhile, Kiari just ripping FNB out from under their tower. And the emote's going to come through here because I think Kiari knows FNB is not going to last in this one. The Cassante chase down is going to
yeah.
secure a second kill here for Kiari. The 1v1 top side thoroughly belonging to the Liberty top laner.
What is going on with FNB, man? This guy used to be arguably the most skilled active Brazilian player, full stop, was dominating his lane more than any other domestic talent, was showing up at international events, was really making a case for Brazilian talent. And now Chiari has rinsed him with the Cassante twice now. Cassante is very broken, don't get me wrong. That is
Yeah,
definitely helping here. But FNB should not be dying in this way, in my opinion. This is really a struggle for this top laner, and he's going to have to sharpen up soon because Liberty are going to be able to use that. A 2-0 Cassante is a scary thing.
very scary. I agree. That's going to be the ultimate coming out here from Trigo to try and just get Liberty to back away. Enchanted Crystal Arrow will split the uprights there, so Furia going to be able to get away from that. Meanwhile, AC taking a lot of damage. Kiara going to absorb as much pressure as possible. This is a very beefy Cassante on one item, is going to be able to get away, and AC just able to get over the wall. But this does mean that it looks like Furia going to be able to secure their second Rift Herald of the game. Meanwhile, Piloto trying to catch out Trigo. Trigo just going to step out of the danger zone there. But Liberty still wants to try and maybe trade here. Volley comes out. FNB going to back away. That is going to be the secured Herald. AC is going to drop into the pit here, is going to go down. Envy going to be able to secure that kill, and Redbird escapes from trouble. So somehow Furia get an extra kill out of that on top of the Herald.
And that was with Chiari having TP'd back in as well. That looked like it could have been a devastating pincer for Furia to deal with, but they get onto AC, they focus him down, and they don't waste too much time. Envy getting some gold there, definitely what Furia wants to see. They want to get this Jace into the mid-game spike as soon as possible. He's got the Eclipse now. They need to get him with that Muramana. Besides the Cassante, there are a lot of people who, when they take an empowered shock blast from a mid-game Jace, will just die. They'll fall over, they will lose 70% of their HP, and they will be unable to fight at that point. And then they can follow up with the Jin W to maybe find the kills or get the Pike ultimate to finish off and get some resets. Envy could be a way for Furia to really take back control in this mid game if he finds those critical skill shots before the fights break out.
I think you make a very good point there that the Cassante is the only one safe from Envy here, because everybody else very squishy, very susceptible to those shock blasts. Meanwhile, AC going to get pulled in here. It's the 2v4 engage from Liberty, and while Redbird goes low, it doesn't matter. AC taken out there by Goot, and Liberty biting off more than they could chew. I don't know what that setup was.
Yeah, as I said, they always bet on themselves, do Liberty, very much for better or worse. That was the point-blank Ash Arrow into, I hope there's not 4 members of the team here, oh wait there are, oh we're dead, kind of scenario for Liberty there. Not the best play by them, as you say, a bit misjudged, and that's just giving kills away. It's more money in Envy's pocket, it's money for Goot as well. It's not great by Liberty, and this is something we have seen from them already several times. They are still very unpolished. Yes, they play with reckless abandon. They are very mechanically gifted. They are very mentally strong, but they do not have the polish that I think you need to beat some of the teams that we have in this league, and especially in a best of series scenario, this is the kind of thing that will punish you over a long period.
Liberty needs to settle down here. Thankfully,
Yeah,
19 minutes in,
down.
a 2,000 gold deficit here, or 1,500 at this point. Not that big. This is not an insurmountable deficit, but they have to figure it out, because that is going to be that mid lane tier 1 going down to the Rift Herald. AC going to be able to get out of trouble here, but time is starting to tick, and Liberty is going to be in trouble if they can't start to close this gap. Third Drake coming up now, 5 seconds. It is a Mountain Drake, each team with one of their own. Furia looking to start that stack. They have won the neutral objective battle here through 20 minutes with 2 Rift Heralds and a Drake, and they're looking to keep that going. Meanwhile, Liberty wants to threaten a mid lane tier 1 of their own. FNB trying to cut off that minion wave. It is going to be gone, but the cannon minion actually survives, so they will get the tower. What does Liberty do here? It looks like they're rotating to the top side. They're just going to concede the Drake, try and pressure a tier 2.
Yeah, I think this is the call, honestly. I think with the item spikes that Furia have gotten and how coalesced they are, you really don't want to be forcing your way into River right there. Like we said before, only Chiari can really stomach that in terms of the damage that could be thrown his way. I think if you don't have the control, just take the mid wave. You can see all of that vision control that Liberty has around that lane. That's the safe place for them to be. That's where it's all lit up, and they can at least get some wave control, get some gold, and go back to the drawing board and find an angle. I'm really looking at AC now as this Elise 1 and 2 and 0 hasn't found the impact that I wanted. I wanted to check up on them at the 20-minute mark, and now I would take the Maokai every time. At this point in the game, I'd rather have a Maokai on my team than an Elise every single time, especially one that already has his Demonic Embrace, that is working towards another AP Mythic, presumably the Everfrost for the lockdown, or maybe the Liandry's to burn through people like Chiari. I think that this comp is like this game's kind of getting away from Liberty, and they are comeback kings, as I've said before. But this is a tricky task they've given themselves.
Yeah, it really feels like the choice from AC was that they wanted to isolate topside. Looked at that Cassante versus Gwen matchup and said, Chiari just wins this, right? And it has worked out, which is good to see. But AC switched that focus down to mid and bot and definitely spent quite a bit of time trying to get something going with Juliera and Cavallo. And it never really materialized. Showed up a couple of times in lane, was able to get that kill on Goot when they pressured for the first strike. But other than that, hasn't done anything. So really, I agree. The Elise has been largely invisible through the early part of this game. And while Chiari is ahead, thanks to them isolating that lane, AC has not been able to get anything going. And you make a great point. Goot is going to be much, much more effective from now until the end of this game on this Maokai.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I want to see from Liberty now. Just sit back, use the range and zone control that you have, and play off the Ash Hour. You can see it's already almost half up, and this is not even before level 11, level 16 cooldown reduction. It is going to be pretty much off cooldown all the time, so just play off the Ash Hour. If you hit it, cool. If you don't, cool. Just play for the push. You can see them getting the turret right here, and Furia, without Goot in the area, can't really punish them. I just want to see Liberty not get too confident and overstay, as this TP is a bit bold.
Oh yeah, Piloto getting in there. The tower's immediately going to go down. Envy not going
Oh,
full
no.
aggro. Meanwhile, the Azir tower in mid giving a little bit of safety here to Liberty as they back away. A lot of aggression from Furia, poking, prodding, trying to get in on this fight. FNB wants to get in there, but not quite going to be able to catch up here. Juliera should be able to net away from any trouble. The volley going to keep them safe. The dash in from Juliera to maybe catch out Trigo. It's not going to be enough. AC goes in. It's the shut down there onto the pike as down goes Redbird, and they're looking for more. Envy flashing away. Net in from Juliera. Volley going to slow down Envy, and that's another kill for the Caitlyn. Huge fight here for Liberty.
Again, Liberty bet on themselves. I thought that was looking disastrous for them. One flash forward from Trigo could start the Pike ult reset chain going, but instead it is Juliera who Gale forces in, knocks them down. AC is able to destroy Redbird before he can get any ult chains going, and then they can just pick them back and chase them back down the river, straight onto the Baron with a TP in from Chiari. Liberty beginning to come back early today.
Cavallo, okay, Cavallo almost died to a sapling in the brush, is going to be able to sidestep the deadly flourish there from Trigo. FNB is here, so Liberty does get the Baron, but they may get punished on the back end. Chiari trying to buy as much time as he possibly can, but the teleport's going to come in. Cavallo's going to go down. Juliera quickly to follow. So Liberty with a wonderful fight in mid. And it really felt like a tightrope walk from them that they perfectly executed on. But the problem is they get greedy. They go for that Baron and you think, hey, they can burn it down, right? Double marksman, Azir as well. It should die pretty quickly, but not quickly enough on those 23-minute death timers. And Furia come back and absolutely punish them.
Calculation just slightly off. We can see this last fight. I'm watching Trigo with the fourth shot. Like, if he tags someone, Redbird can go in, but Juliera suddenly turns on a dime. And even with Envy coming in, I saw him going, okay, maybe he can start taking heads. There's so many members of Furia that can do fair amounts of damage to burst down these last few targets, but they can't get the same target. They can't get a focused target to attack. and they end up not getting anybody and going down themselves. Cavallo Ash Arrow whiffs, and they do at least have 3 buffs for Liberty, it must be said. They did lose them on the 2 marksmen, which is a shame. They can't siege up as easily with that, but they've got a potential split push angle if they want to put Chiari down there, and they've got the extra buffs, they've got the extra gold. It stops Furia snowballing what could have been a very rough spot for them as well.
Yeah, Goot was sitting on the Twisted Advance, so they did have that engage tool. Goot saving it for now. It looks like Chiari maybe wanting to get in on the Maokai there, isn't going to over-aggress. And Liberty's going to start this Mountain Drake, looking to even things up at 2. Trigo over the wall, going to hit that Jhin ultimate, just put out whatever damage he can. He is going to chunk quite a bit out of the Cassante there, and it's actually the huge steal there from Goot. That's their 3rd Drake. Now Furia needs to get out of here because Chiari wants to get in here, and Piloto going to take down FNB. They're going to grab a 2nd there. Double kill for the Azir as both solo laners are dead. And now what can Liberty do with this? They've got that mid wave prepped, so they can try and threaten for that inhibitor tower. Unfortunately, the side lanes in favor of Furia right now, so they can get back and defend. But it's going to be a slow defense here. They're actually going to get a Baron-empowered Minion Wave up to this mid-inhib.
And everybody on Liberty is pulling their weight in this game. When I saw Juliera go down to a perfect shock blast, as we mentioned, could be so scary from Envy, I thought fight's done. Juliera's dead. They can't win this 4 versus 5. And yes, they lost the Dragon. Furia on Soul Point is going to be dangerous for them in the next few minutes. But Liberty, they don't give up the fight. They coalesce again, and they take down 2 clean members of Furia, and they get the inhib off it with pressure to play with. That is the never say die attitude that Liberty has on show right there. When your primary carry dies before the fight even happens, they still manage to come out ahead on numbers and arguably ahead on map pressure.
Yeah, Liberty, not the prettiest of performances.
No,
but
it
still impressive.
Yeah,
still very fun to watch. And I mean, as you talked about, right, they've still got those kinks to work out, right? They still got to polish a lot of things. But man, when they are on their game, they are so good. And we talked about it coming into this game, that this was a prove it game for Liberty and an opportunity for Furia to stabilize. And Furia looking good, ahead in gold, but Liberty are showing that they can swing with the big dogs, and they might just deserve to be a team undefeated through 3 games.
Furia certainly looking better than before, as Chiari's getting awful scrappy there with Liberty on the bot push. They do have the 4-man stack down there. Piloto currently holding off Envy in that top wave. I think that Piloto has been a bit of a silent hero for them as well, really pressuring with the ultimates in the early lane to get the important summoners, doing a lot of work in the team fights, 2-1 and 2 right now on the Azir, and hasn't had to wait till 30 minutes to start being useful, as you'll see some Azirs end up doing. So Piloto, I think, deserves a lot of credit for this one, but Furia, they definitely look better than the first 2 games. This is closer to what I wanted to see from them. We are still far from the Furia of last summer. Just look at 0-3 and 2 FNB to get the answer there, but there's definitely progress being made. It might just be another very slow start for a powerhouse team.
Definitely hoping to come out of this game with a victory. They're in a solid position, as you mentioned, with Soul Point available. They're up in gold, though. 1,300, not a big deal here at 28 minutes, but Furia have given themselves the opportunity in this game. Less than 2 minutes until that next Mountain Drake comes up. We know both of these teams going to be very heavily focused on it. The Baron, though, will be up earlier. 45 seconds on that one. Furia already trying to establish vision in the area, are going to get spotted out by that Ashe. Cavallo going to back away as they try to clear out some of this vision. Good deadly flourish there. Going to force AC to dodge. And Chiari going to work his way down from this top lane. They've got the waves pushing where they want them for right now. The one thing they will have to worry about, FNB on the split push. Chiari does have teleport available, so could go bot lane. It looks like they're going to put Piloto down there. Also has that teleport up to respond to FNB split push.
I think for Furia, I really want to see them try and leverage the range and the pick potential that they do have with this 4 stack. They don't need FMB for that. He's designed as a better split pusher and maybe some late game team fight cleanup on the Gwen, but with the Pyke, with the Maokai, with the Jhin, you can really threaten from a long way away, as we can see those shock blasts still hurting a lot coming out of Envy. The team fights are just a bit too tough. Liberty are playing them too well, if I'm honest. They're not getting caught out. They're not getting comboed. They're not allowing Redbird to get the resets. So Furia, I think you've got to find the picks. They've got CC. There's a lot of squishy targets to aim at. At least burn some summoners before you end up coming to these fights, because they are very, very tough if Liberty escape from the initial engage.
Yeah, it's definitely been a bend but don't break mentality from Liberty.
Yeah.
Because we've seen a lot of these fights, those Liberty health bars, they get low, but
Yeah.
they get Furia. They get Furia to take that one extra step forward. They see that little bit of greed in their eyes, and they're able to just wrestle away that extra kill or two to keep themselves in this game. And it's been very fun to watch here from Liberty. They are now posturing, starting this Mountain Drake Furia in the area, and Goot likely looking to lay down that twisted advance, lock down these Liberty members. This Drake is going to burn. Do we see another steal? We've already got one from Goot today. Can we get number 2? Twisted advance in, low health, but it is going to be spotted away there by AC, and they're going to be able to back away for the time being. No deaths yet. AC fairly low, but I think Liberty are in a great position here. Kiari continuing to absorb a lot of the pressure up front from this Furia team, and Liberty is going to get out scot-free. They get the Drake, and they're able to back away.
There's that zone control on display with the Caitlyn traps, with the constant volleys, cocoons. It is so hard to actually get on top of the Liberty members. Piloto didn't even need to use Emperor's Divide in that whole fight. They got the dragon, they took a bit of damage, they got their jungler out, and they walked away. It's just that easy for this Liberty squad, and they're still down 2,000 gold. It doesn't look that, just watching the way these fights play out and how careful Furia have to be when approaching these problems. So they seem to have lost control of dictating the pace of these fights. Yes, they can call the Jhin ult, they can call the Maokai ult, but that's not even enough to force the issue right now. And I don't know if that is Furia being too passive, or if it is Liberty just making the best use out of their delaying and their stalling tools they've drafted.
Yeah, and it really feels like the biggest problem with FNB's rough start to this game and lack of a huge presence is that because the Gwen has not become as big of a threat, there's not as much room for Trigo to step forward and really be effective in these fights. We've seen so many of these fights. Trigo's just been relegated to ultimate and deadly flourish duty, and then hoping the rest of the team can pick up the slack, because FNB doesn't press that Liberty backline away from the priority targets. It looks like every time Juliera is confident to step forward and dance around Redbird, and that means that Trigo just hasn't been quite as effective, and it's going to be very important. Here comes the ultimate from the Jhin once again. Baron started here by Liberty. Twisted advance going to come through. Will be blocked by the Cassante, but they just immediately nuke Piloto. That is the shot you were looking for. Here comes Trigo and the rest of Furia. Redbird wants to corral these members. Is AC and Cavallo going to back away? Kiari trying to keep FNB at bay, but the problem is Liberty has been stuck now on the wrong side of the map. Furia already with 1 kill. They're looking for more. Cassante going to dash away. FNB confident now. Juliera solo is going to be able to get out for the time being, but it's not enough because Redbird's going to take 1. They're looking for more. It's a double kill for Trigo and an ace for Furia.
One misstep from Liberty, one person steps out of line and Piloto instantly dies. That is the burst that a 3-item Jhin has on offer. I love that you brought up the point that he wasn't comfortable to step forward and do it before, and that is what Trigo can do. If he's allowed, if he hits those shots with Envy in tow, massive damage coming out of Furia to burst that, and then that was just clinical. The way they picked apart Liberty, hounding them through the jungle, finding the engage from Envy, and there's just nothing that Liberty could do to stop them being entirely aced in that fight. They've lost the inhib, they're losing the Baron, now Furia, you've given yourself another window to get that first win. Liberty, you've had one comeback already in this game, time to start another one, because right now, if you have fights like that, that is devastating.
And it all starts here with this absolute nuke on Piloto. Piloto, I think, seems to think that they're safe, is hoping that Chiari is going to tank the Twisted Advance, but actually just gets caught. And it's that Jin fourth shot into the dash forward from FMB that finishes him off. And then here comes Furia to corral the rest of the squad.
Yeah, Envy waiting for the moment for the to the skies there, really just destroys them on that E set. And there's Redbird, been waiting for the chance to get some resets in fight all game. Trigo doing so much work there. I don't know if it's because Chiari has Merc Treads and has the tenacity. He gets out of the Twisted Advance first. His first instinct is to run backwards to his team. But Piloto, he's still stuck there. He's still rooted. So he can't move. And he gets, Chiari moves out of the way just in time for Trigo to fourth shot him. Very unfortunate timing there from the top laner from Liberty, and this is now Furia in a commanding position. They've gone straight up to 9k in the lead. They're once again still at soul point, 30 seconds on that, and they should have full control to get that extra damage protection for them going into the last stages of this game.
And if they're feeling confident in those 5v5s, they're guaranteed to get one right now because Liberty is unlikely to just hand over this soul right now. 15 seconds till it spawns. Piloto is up on that top side, clearing the way, but does have teleport available on his way up here. Uh-oh, they've caught out Goot. Juliera is going to get the kill. That is huge. Liberty might be able to continue to stall out this soul because the jungler of Furia is gone.
How do you find the perfect pick, Liberty? How do you find the perfect pick to get back into this one on Soul Point, no less, and Redbird has to be forced back as well. Now the game is going to stretch on just a little longer. The Baron is still devastating. There's still a minute on it. It's still a massive lead for Furia, but we talked about the burst on offer for the Furia squad. Liberty just showed us what they have on offer. Oh my goodness. The tanky frontline, quote-unquote, of Goot melted when he got caught out.
Well, and I think it is important to know that while you call it tanky there, and Trigo is going to get caught here. No way you're getting out, but he is going to take Juliera with him. Bit of a misplay there from Liberty. There's no way that he should be able to get that fourth shot off. But important to note that the Maokai, a very AP heavy build, right? So isn't as beefy as the Maokai can be, has definitely indexed heavily into being a damage threat, making those saplings tick away at these squishy targets. So if you can get that CC, it is not difficult to chop that tree down. And we saw it on display there with Goot getting caught in the bot side river.
Yeah, I have no idea, as we said, how Trigo got away with a kill there with 4 bodies of Liberty in the area. I think they were, I don't know if they were trying to donate it, trying to give it over to Juliera so he can finish his Bloodthirster, which he's still currently waiting on, but that is very unfortunate for them to slow themselves down. If they had the Caitlyn there, they could maybe get a push going, they could have an easier control over these waves, and he might have been able to get enough money for that Bloodthirster. But as it stands, he's still working on it, and Trigo is already at that 4 items plus stopwatch, doing a much better job in this mid to late game. It's another player that, as we said at the very beginning, I wanted to see Trigo step up in this game. I think the Jin pick was a great draft for him. It allows him to be a little bit safer, not so much pressure to hard carry fights in lane on this, but he can still be exceptionally useful with the game sense and the skill that this player has. He found that perfect shot onto Piloto, he gets the kill out of that bot side, and now he is doing a lot of damage to Liberty.
Yeah, Trigo is definitely a problem for Liberty right now because as we just saw, 1 rotation of auto attacks, 4 autos is enough to kill Juliera, Cavallo,
probably
possibly Piloto as well. AC's definitely going to die to 4 autos, So it's just like Trigo is a huge problem for everybody but Chiari on that lineup. And that's why it was so important earlier that Trigo wasn't getting a ton of room to step forward in fights, because as soon as he does, he's going to delete your carries and it's going to spell the end of this game for Liberty. But we'll have to see. This has been a roller coaster, Trajan. They've delivered a very fun game for us here in our 3rd game of the day.
100%. I thought that Furia, from the way they looked early on, were getting back to their old ways and would be able to sew this one up. But this is more like spring 2022 Furia, where the closing and the mid game are pretty tough for them. They tended to stumble and just throw away their leads, to be honest. And they've kind of done the same thing here. Now they have recovered it in a big way. Great lead for them still, but 7 towers to 6, 3 dragons apiece. We've seen the burst that Liberty can find if they get those good catches. Definitely wide open this game for now, with all the inhibs up. And this is, I think, going to come down to the soul fight. The Baron is up in 40, but I don't think anyone's going to just try and grip it and rip it. I think that they are going to be playing safe enough to not give away any of these picks. And then the soul fight is where someone is going to have to muscle their way into that river. Someone's going to get caught, and it's all going to go wrong for one of these teams.
And we've of course already seen the steal from Goot on an earlier Drake, but we've also seen Liberty doing a really good job of establishing vision and a presence in the river around these Drakes and taking them when they're behind, right? Multiple
Mm,
times. These last 2 Drakes, it's felt like Liberty is not in a great position, but they've just essentially bullied Furia off of these objectives. And the question now is, does Furia become a little bit more aggressive now that Liberty is on Soul Point? Because it feels like they've been a little more willing to step back and give it up
yeah.
and maybe go for a cheeky steal. Does Furia play more aggressively in the setup in the defense of this Drake? We'll have to keep an eye on it. But the focus for the time being on the Baron. Baron's up, 35 seconds till that Drake.
Both teams playing around the vision lines, looking for a pick option. The Bone Skewer from Redbert, or potentially an Ash Arrow from Cavallo, as Furia do have the vision on the Baron right now, but Chiari still pushing and prodding as well. The tankiest member on the Rift by a long way. And I think you're right, Yeso. I think Furia are going to be a little bit more aggressive. They were fairly scared of Liberty, but after these last few fights, when they've seen the damage that they have to bring to bear, if they can get that one crucial pick, Liberty's comp suffers so heavily from losing one of their main carries, Piloto and Juliera, at this stage in the game. As Chiari, he's kind of on his own right now.
Yeah, Arrow's going to come out from Cavallo to try and back up this Cassante, but as the Twisted Advance comes through, Cavallo has to get away. Flash will get out. Twisted Advance still lands. Cavallo still going to survive, but just barely. And FNB, meanwhile, on the split push. But the problem for Furia is they've seemingly decided to trade Soul to Liberty here, and Baron is going to go to Furia. Very interesting trade here is Chiari trying to catch out FNB.
Ooh.
FNB, meanwhile, wins the 1v1 with Piloto. So FNB may be finally online on this Gwen.
That could be game winning, honestly, because they've got the Baron, they can find the push, they don't find a counter kill, and they've now got 46 seconds to push with Baron, with an inhib already down. Piloto, this guy is massive. He's almost full build, including Rabadon's on Azir. He's a huge part of Liberty's damage profile, and he is going to be dead for a long time. This should be the base of Liberty, falling to pieces, all inhibs down. Potentially Piloto, revives on the Nexus, and for one last fight, Liberty will be able to make a stand, but Furia could play this slow. They have so much pressure to work with now.
Yeah, the other thing too is that Emperor's Divide is such a big tool to protect Cavallo as well as Juliera. Without that up, Furia can play more aggressive here. Redbird is going to be more comfortable getting into the backline. Chiari going to get pulled in, but able to absorb that Twisted Advance and protect those carries. And Furia is going to back away. They see that Piloto is back up. They're not going to bite off more than they could chew for right now. They'll let Liberty clear out these waves, and they're going to reset. But the teleport going to come through, so they're not going to give them all that much time. FNB wants to get back out on the map and keep Liberty corralled in their base.
I honestly like this choice for Furia. I don't want to see them throw this one away, and sure, them sitting at 0-2, they don't want to take another loss right here. And Liberty, if there is a window to punish, they will always find it. They've still got 90 seconds on the Baron, all inhibs dead, and all the zone control in the world does not matter when you have 6 super minions plus wave coming at you, plus Shock Blast, plus Deadly Flourishes, plus Bone Skewers. I think this is going to overwhelm Liberty in the base, and all Furia have to do is hold their nerve. Do not get hasty. Do not get too excited.
Ooh. That Ash Arrow almost catching Redbird there in the Shroud, but is going to be able to sidestep it. And honestly, Liberty don't want to step that far forward. Minion Wave's going to spill into the base here and try and threaten these Nexus towers. Cavallo going to be able to get back to safety, and Trigo using that ultimate, really not going to get a whole lot of value out of it. Fourth shot will not land. Trigo just going to have to back away. Meanwhile, AC trying to get there into Redbert. Isn't going to find anything. Ultimate from the Maokai comes through, catches a couple. AC going to go gold here under the safety of the tower. Flashes away. FNB stepping forward. Envy, meanwhile, onto Piloto.
No.
And the Emperor's Divine not going to catch him. And that is the Cassante dead. The front line is gone. The jungler as well, quickly to follow, though just able to escape to the Nexus. But it isn't going to matter.